Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Essays and Espresso podcast. Here with me are my two cohorts, Boken and Acer.
Yes.
Acer!
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Bogen?
Good.
We're all good. It's good to be good.
If it's not obvious from that lazy introduction, we haven't recorded in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. It's been a hot minute, as they say.
And why was
But
that?
it's okay. I think the last thing we recorded was the Code Geass commentary thing.
Yeah.
That isn't out yet.
Well, as of this recording, it'll probably be out by the time this goes up, right?
Yeah, of course.
I don't know. I don't even know who's in charge anymore. I just show up randomly on a weekend and record this.
Acer,
and then...
Acer's the one editing it.
It's already on the channel. I just have it unlisted.
See, there we go. See, everyone knows how the sausage is being made. This is no good. We need to get away from this topic. Anyways, I've been playing games. Have you guys been playing games?
I have. I've been playing
Good.
2 games. One of them I can talk about.
I've been playing an old game. I've been playing Uncharted. What? I beat Uncharted Golden Abyss.
Was it good?
No.
Is that the PSP one?
No, the Vita one.
Oh, Vita, okay.
Yeah, there was never one for the PSP.
Yes, the
that would
PSP
be
is too old.
interesting. So,
First of all, why did you decide to play this one?
I don't know. I guess because like the last handheld game I played was Order of Ecclesia, and I usually like to play something substantially different.
Yeah.
For like so I was like, how far off can you be from like a 2D Metroidvania than like a third person shooter, I guess.
Okay.
So it's a prequel to the Uncharted games, and full disclosure, I've only ever beaten Uncharted 1 and like half of Uncharted 2 before I dropped it because it was boring.
Lord almighty.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So I thought like, whatever, let me play Golden Abyss, because it seems weird, right? Like it's a fucking prequel game on the PS Vita of all things. It's just something about that just like spoke to me. I'm like, I gotta see what this dumb shit is about. And it's basically what you would expect. It is a nothing plot that has nothing to do with anything. It's just a random adventure that Nathan Drake goes on.
I have a question. You haven't played Uncharted 4, right?
No.
Because I remember Uncharted 4 also having prequel scenes where you play young Nathan Drake.
Yes.
Because the problem in Uncharted 4 is that Drake suddenly has a brother that no one ever knew about. Like no one ever mentioned that Drake has a brother, and then suddenly he shows up and dominates his entire life.
Yeah.
If you're wondering if his brother is in the game, no, he's not.
I assume not, because I assume Golden Abyss came before 4.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it did.
It did.
So, so Golden Abyss was not made by Naughty Dog. It was made by the makers of Days Gone, Bend Studio. I will give Golden Abyss this though. When I first played it, I thought, okay, this has to be the best looking Vita game ever made. I don't see how anything could come close. And then I played Killzone Mercenaries, and I'm like, okay, no, this is actually the best looking Vita game ever made. It's kind of astounding. But Golden Abyss is still a really good looking game. So most of the game is pretty like bleh. Except in like the second half of the game, there's like a part where Sully is put back into the game. And it is astounding how much life suddenly the game had once Sully was in the picture. Because you're playing with these other characters, not playing as them, but like you have this girl named Chase who's nothing. You have this guy named Dante, who's nothing. The villain's named Guerrero, he's nothing. Like, just these blah whatever characters. But then when Sully is there, just him being there suddenly made the game fun. Like, I'm like, oh, the dialogue is really good. He's just like a fun character. His voice actor is fantastic. Just him being there suddenly made the game enjoyable. And then it really like brought into focus for me like what is the heart of Uncharted. I'm like, it's Sully. Like, he's such a good character.
Is he?
I like him.
I feel like he's.
I think I'm not saying he's super deep or anything. I'm saying he's a really likable, charming, and enjoyable character.
Do you look forwards to watching the movie where he will be played by Mark Wahlberg?
No.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Get the fuck out of here.
Mark Wahlberg, I think this
stupid.
is so funny. He was originally cast to play Nathan Drake, and the movie's been in development for so long that he's now playing Sully.
That doesn't make any sense.
Also, how is he? He is nothing like Sully at all.
No.
Isn't Sully pretty old even in the first games?
Well, the movie
Yes.
takes place when Nate is like they're getting Tom Holland to play Nate Drake, so it's kind of a prequel-ish. Which has me asking, why even make this? Why is this an Uncharted movie then? This is going to be a disgusting Mark Wahlberg vehicle. Anyway.
It's going to be awful. So yeah, the only other thing I have to say about Golden Abyss, other than it being like a pretty whatever third-person shooter that you can play on the PS Vita, is holy shit. At the very end, you have to do these touchscreen QTE segments, and I felt like tearing my hair out. So on screen are these arrows, right? Like the arrow will like slide across the screen. You just have to like put your finger on the screen and copy the arrow. You don't need to be exactly on the arrow. You could be like to the side of it, but you just need to follow the same motion. But it was so fucking finicky, I kept dying. And there's two lengthy sequences where literally all you're doing is watching the cutscene and gliding your finger across the screen. And like I kept
That sure improves the
it was so
cutscene.
frustrating. It was so frustrating. Eventually, I had to like jam my finger onto the screen as hard as I could to make sure that it registered my inputs. Because otherwise, it was just I would do the motion like completely perfectly, like at the exact same time, and it would still say I did it wrong.
I feel like
I was so fucking pissed.
I feel like I've heard you rant about this before. Maybe you just have really meaty sausage fingers.
I don't think I've complained about this before.
But are you implying that the game didn't have those before? Before the end?
No, this was like at the very end.
What?
Like
That's so random.
Okay, so here's the thing. There were some touchscreen QTE things here and there, but it was usually like, oh, you're going to do a melee attack, and then you have to like do the QTE thing in order to like counter the attack. And sometimes you'll grab onto a ledge, and then the ledge will like, oh, the ledge broke, and you have to like do it. You have to swipe up so Nathan grabs onto the ledge again, and that was it.
Boy.
Like, but then at the very end, all of a sudden you have these two very lengthy QTE sequences that they knew were shit because they gave you 3 chances, and I still ended up dying multiple times. What was even worse was for the very last one, at some point, they remove your chances. I don't know why. And then it suddenly turns into, well, if you just fuck up once, you're suddenly dead. But then you had to redo the whole fucking thing again.
You know, it's
That's
funny
pretty
that
funny.
Fuck.
that just they implement those QTEs when a ledge breaks away and you have to like get another grip, because that's more than you have to do in the original games. In the original games, they're like that shit happens all the time, where Drake is just climbing somewhere and then suddenly, oh my god, it's breaking off, and then he falls a couple, feet down, and he catches something else, and it's so boring and uneventful. But the game implies,
Yeah, because you know nothing's gonna happen.
you don't have to input anything. You just watch it happen, and it's like this the game implies how crazy that whole thing was, where he almost fell to his death, but he never does fall to his death, and you don't have any input on it. So I guess it's an improvement that you at least have a QTE where you have to react.
Yeah, that's why I didn't complain about it, because, yeah, there's at least... You're right, because otherwise the climbing sequences are just like holding the analog stick. Actually, not even in this game do you need to hold the analog stick. What you can do is you can glide your finger across the screen to all of the grabbable ledges, and then Nathan will do it by himself.
Fantastic.
That's how fucking automatic and brain dead the climbing is in Uncharted, where you could do it so he does it by himself. So yeah, I don't recommend it unless you're like a hardcore Uncharted fan, I guess. But even then, there's like nothing in this game story-wise.
I don't recommend listening to our podcast if you are a hardcore Uncharted fan.
I do. Maybe you'll see the light. It's funny because Naughty Dog made the Jak games, and I think Jak has one of the most immensely satisfying platformer control setups. And then it just goes from that to fucking Nathan Drake, who moves like that.
Oh, man. You must have been so disappointed.
I was a kid, so I didn't really notice. I'm younger than you two.
What else have you played, Daniel?
Yes, and be quick, because we're already eating into precious resources of time here.
So, like I mentioned before, I did play a little bit of Killzone Mercenaries, but I only did like a level. So, not much to say there other than it's a fantastic looking game. The shooting feels really good.
I noticed you didn't put it on the dock. Are you adding a topic?
All I'm saying is it looked good, the shooting felt good, and it looks neat that you can have every like kill that you do, you get money, and you can use that money to get better guns. That's cool. And that's it. That's all I'm gonna say about Killzone
Acer
Mercenaries.
Is doing funny things in our topic.
Yes, I see it. I see it. Fuck you, Acer. So that's all I'm gonna say about that. I'll probably have more to say about it next time. By that time, I'll probably have it done. So what I've spent a lot of time playing recently, though, is
The Last
Final
of Us Part
Fantasy.
2.
Fuck you. I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy 14, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it because I don't want this to turn into one of those podcasts where one of the hosts just endlessly plays Final Fantasy 14 and only talks about Final Fantasy 14
if I don't get
for multiple episodes.
If I don't get to talk about Valorant or Street Fighter, then you don't get to talk about Final Fantasy 14. I hope we are understood.
I'm just throwing out there that I'm playing it. I finished the base game. I got to the first expansion, Heaven's Ward, and I am enjoying my time with it. And what's really great is I've put over 100 hours into the game, and I have not spent a fucking dime.
That is actually pretty good.
Yes. And I still have, some time before I have to pay. So that's pretty nice.
Do you think you'll pay?
The way that I think I will, because I'm invested now.
See, this is how they get them.
Oh. Do you want to know how much? Do you want to know how much money I've put into Valorant skins? I can assure you, you don't.
You would be the kind of guy to buy skins. On top of everything else, you dump this on me.
Hey, don't throw any shade. I'm sure you have some skeletons in your closet. You fuck.
I bought the Batmobile skin. I bought the Batmobile skin in Rocket League for like $1. And that's the only cosmetic I've ever bought in my life.
You play Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
You want to tell me how much money you've put into your dumbass cards?
Oh, those cards are an investment, Bogan. They go up in price. You buy first print max rarities, they go up there.
Okay.
I demand that this section be removed from the podcast.
Anyways, let's talk about Last of Us Part 2.
Yay!
Again!
I keep being excited about just talking about that game for some reason.
We've talked about it like 5 times. What's left to say, guys?
There's a lot left to say.
I mean, I beat it now.
Yeah.
Last time we talked about it, I hadn't even touched it, and now I'm done with it. Or I think last time I only started it. But whatever. Point is, I'm done with it, and I think both camps, the people who are saying it's a masterpiece and the people that are saying it's hot garbage, are crazy. It is neither of those things.
What a bold take.
Oh my god.
No, yeah, I know. What a fucking basic bitch take.
But it's so correct.
But,
it's just like... It's
a
game.
Yeah, like... Yeah, like, what do you want from me?
Well, did you like it more than Last of Us 1?
I liked the gameplay more. I didn't like the story as much.
Okay.
Was it because there was more cutscene to gameplay ratio, or was it because they did that jumping in time thing?
No, I don't really care about cutscene to gameplay ratio too much. I actually felt that the gameplay portions of the game were fairly substantial, so I wasn't bothered in that regard.
Yeah, I've actually heard it gets... I only played until Joel died, and I haven't... I hear it gets much more palatable after that.
It does. Shortly after that,
does.
There's a lot more gameplay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I really liked the gameplay a lot. Like, it was really fun. Like, being able to crawl around in the grass and, like, shooting people in the head, like, that shit fucking just gets my goat. Good shit.
Blowing up dogs. That was fun.
I like, you know, it's funny because they try to make you feel bad about killing people. They're like, oh, they killed Mark, they killed Lisa, or whatever, and that never did anything for me. But the moment I had to, like, kill a dog was when the game actually made me feel something. I was like, no, I don't want to kill the dog. Fuck you,
See,
game.
I felt like a genius because I set up a trap bomb, like a wire bomb, and then I lured the dog over, and then just the explosion and the yapping, and I was like, nailed it.
No, yeah, I did. Yeah, I did the same thing. Yeah, because they get a scent on you, and then when that happens, you can place a trap and just make sure that they follow the scent into the trap. So that was fun. But yeah, I don't dislike the story for the same reason I think other people dislike it. Most of my problems with the story is how fucking absurdly convenient it is. Like, there are so many parts of the story that felt awkwardly, like, shoved together in ways that just made no fucking sense. Like, and
like what?
And I think you'll agree with me on this, Boken. The thing I absolutely hated the most was literally every fucking time you squeeze through a thing, someone blindsides you out of nowhere in a way that makes no fucking sense.
Oh, yeah.
It happened so many times.
Zombies like to be stealthy when they are never in normal gameplay, but suddenly one of them is just blindsiding you and performing a jump scare.
Yeah. Even at the very, very end of the fucking game, when you're in, like, the last section, when Ellie, like, squeezes out of, like, a little thing, and then suddenly, oh, there's a trap, and she's caught in a trap, and it's like, we're at the end of the game, you're still pulling this shit. Like, stop! Oh, it was so frustrating.
There was one good instance where you can enter a workbench, and then, like, the normal menu opens up where you can modify your guns, and then suddenly some guy just attacks you from behind.
Yeah, that was great. That was, like, a really fantastic moment. I definitely agree with you. And what's really good is that is totally optional. Like, you don't even have to go up there if you don't want to. So I really appreciate that.
But what is convenient about the story?
So many things are convenient. So, like, there was, I forget what was the name of the Asian guy?
Jesse,
yeah. So there was that part. I mean, conceptually, it was kind of a cool idea where, you know, you're running and you're hearing them talking about like he's over there, and you know that they're not talking about you. So like it's cool in that conception. I did think it was kind of cool that like you two are going through like your own things and then you meet up. But like, how the fuck did Jesse know exactly where Ellie was to then like sneak behind her and then like cover her mouth? Like, it's just dumb shit like that. There was another section later on with Abby where him I said him where she and her friend, the Hispanic guy, I forget his name too because I feel like I've forgotten some shit already because it's been a while. Like he pops up out of nowhere and then they start having a fight with Tommy. And like that again, that just came out of fucking nowhere. Like you're just like doing your own thing and then all of a sudden, oh, you just happen to fucking reunite with your friend and it's like, what? Like like the chances of shit like that happening are so astronomical.
But didn't she have a reason to be there? And like they just had some kind of operation there where they were hunting Tommy? Like
I don't think she was trying to go after Tommy specifically.
No, I think she just happened to be there and it's their
she just
their
so
territory or something. Yeah, I don't know.
She just so happened to be there.
Okay.
And then it just so happened that her friend was there and she was helping him to kill Tommy.
I don't think that the first one I agree, the second one is just I don't know. It's just her friend is there because he is with another team and they are hunting Tommy, which you don't even know.
Well,
like game doesn't make.
Well, I mean,
the game is fairly subtle about the fact that even is Tommy, which I liked.
Yeah, but like he wasn't even with another team; he was by himself.
Yeah, because the rest of his team got killed. I'm pretty sure.
I'm just saying, it's just really convenient that all of a sudden just stumbled back into like it just so happened to be her friend. Like, I don't know, it just seemed really forced to me.
I guess so.
And let's not forget like the entire sequence in the beginning of the game with Abby and Joel. Like, she's looking for Joel. I understand that, but then she just so happens as she's running away from a bunch of infected to stumble onto both Joel and Tommy.
Yeah, but I think that's fine because if that didn't happen, she would have looked for him somewhere else.
We wouldn't have a game. We wouldn't have an entire fucking story.
Yeah, but it's not like she would have found him eventually, and she would have like waited till she got the chance. So it's just speeding up the process.
I guess
that is her goal. It's not like she stumbled upon that. It's just that was she was looking for.
No, she did. But she did stumble upon.
Yeah, but like, you get what I'm saying, right? That is basically where that character is going anyway. So from a narrative standpoint, there's not that much reason to prolong it. And there's nothing in a way.
I get what you're saying.
There's nothing in a way stopping her from eventually getting to that point.
I get what you're saying, but at the same time, like, it still felt a little too forced for my taste. Like, it didn't really work for me. It didn't land. I felt like it also led to like that sequence in the cabin. I felt like that could have been handled better.
Okay.
Yes.
But okay. I don't even want to sit here and defend the game.
You should. See, here's the thing about this. The more good feedback these sorts of games get, the more the industry keeps making them. I'm thinking we need to actively dislike these sorts of games at this point. Because I hate this.
You want me to be a hack?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Well, I don't hate the game, though. I don't hate the game. I don't even hate the story.
I don't either.
I just think that the story has some pretty glaring issues. Like the ending. I thought the ending was fucking terrible.
Can we talk about the ending? I want to talk about the conflict of Ellie versus Abby. Because I came away from the game feeling like Ellie is a fucking cunt and Abby was 100% right in everything she did, basically. And
I don't disagree with that. That's not my problem with the ending.
No,
my
but that is something I wanted to talk about in general.
I think a lot of people have been a lot harder on Abby than she deserves. I think people are just mad at Abby because Abby killed a character that everyone really likes.
I think so too.
But like, Abby had every reason to kill Joel. Like, how can you say she doesn't?
And the problem with the game for me is that it somewhat portrays, like, it's a revenge story, and it's about how revenge is leading you nowhere. And that same dynamic is basically told from the two perspectives of the two main characters. Like, you play both characters because they want to show how the action of the other is, reflecting back on your current character, and that's why they keep going after each other in turns. But I feel like what Ellie does is so much worse than what Abby does, because Abby multiple times takes the chance and, like, she kills Joel, but she leaves Ellie alive. And then later, when Ellie has her revenge and she kills multiple of Abby's friends, then she's actually going after Ellie. At which point, she kills Jesse, like Abby kills Jesse, but then she chooses to leave Ellie alive and to leave what is the other girl? Her name?
Dina.
Dina. That's her name.
Dina.
She leaves Ellie and Dina alive because she also learns that Dina is pregnant. And, at that point, I feel like Abby has the absolute moral high ground in that whole story.
Well, Abby was about to kill Dina anyways until she was told by the Scar. I forget her name. God, it's been so long since I played this game. I forgot all the characters.
What a fruitful conversation.
What's
But like she was about to kill her. Ellie was trying to stop her. Like, no, don't. She's pregnant. She's like, good, because her friend was pregnant. And Mel was also pregnant. And she got killed.
Yeah.
So I think in that moment she was like, well, fuck you, an eye for an eye, right? But then her friend was like, no, don't do it. This needs to end. And then Abby
exactly
kind of had that moment where she was like, yeah, you know what, you're right, this isn't
and Abby is ready to end it, and then stupid fucking Ellie still goes after her in the epilogue. She ruins her entire life just for Joel, and it made me so mad because I kept playing Ellie on her hunt for a revenge that she didn't earn. And it ends with Abby having been taken captive by like slavers or something. And then so eventually just Ellie finds Abby. She's weak and she didn't get any food, obviously. And then they are basically having a fist fight. And Ellie, you are playing Ellie, so you're about to kill Abby. And I was like, in that entire sequence, I was trying anything just so that Abby doesn't have to die. Because it felt so wrong that Ellie was going to get what she wanted. And that made me so upset. I mean, eventually she doesn't. Eventually Ellie decides that it's not worth it. But
see, that's what bothered me about the ending, because I feel like Ellie at that point, like, she's gone through all this shit just to get at this person, right? I don't buy that her character would suddenly, I don't care what fucking epiphany she had in that moment. She had like a flashback to Joe or whatever. I don't buy that she would suddenly just stop, especially after Abby bit her fucking fingers off. Like, I just didn't buy that. Like, I didn't want Abby to die either, because I don't think that Abby deserved it, but I don't believe that Ellie's character would have just let her go in that moment. Nothing that happened in that sequence made me go, oh yeah, Ellie would totally do this. No, she fucking wouldn't. Like you said, she totally ruined her life for this moment. There's nothing that happened that made me believe that she would squander it all of a sudden.
Sure. Yeah, I get that. But I didn't even get why she still wanted the revenge and why Tommy wanted the revenge too. Like,
Uh, for Tommy, I don't know because they don't really focus on his character. But for Ellie, I think it was less about Joel at that point. I think it was more that she was saying that she couldn't sleep. She's having nightmares. She's like having anxiety attacks. Like I think in her mind, if she went through with it, that would all stop.
yeah, maybe. But that's kind of weird. And I feel like that would eventually ebb, like those nightmares should stop. And here's another problem with that is in all the flashbacks, except for the very last one, Ellie spends the entire game being mad at Joel. Like being mad at the fact that he killed all those doctors and like quote unquote saved her. And so the entire game, while she is trying to revenge Joel, every cutscene portrays her being extremely mad at him. So that makes the motivation even make less sense. And it's somewhat redeemed with the last one where she kind of forgives him a little bit, but it's just the lengths that she goes through to have a revenge. Like she travels for months through the entire United States. For that shit, like you would calm down on the way. I'm pretty sure.
You have stories like The Revenant of people who go to pretty crazy lengths for really long periods of times because of because of their own feelings of deserved revenge or whatever. But I didn't play the game that far, so I can't really make a statement on how well they present it.
Have you ever killed someone, Asa? I don't think so. Okay.
I used to hunt rabbits with my grandpa when I was a kid.
What the fuck?
That's kind of...
Did the rabbits come back to revenge their family?
Yeah, but like I said before,
No, we just we took their youngs and we bred them and kept them in a cage in the backyard. We don't leave them alive for revenge. We leave them alive to be humiliated, Bogan.
But Boken, the thing is, I don't think Ellie is like actively angry anymore by that point. So you're saying like, oh, she would cool off. It's not about cooling off. It's about the nightmares that she's having. It's about the anxiety attacks. She needs closure.
It was just a prank, bro. Joel is there behind the camera. It was all just a social experiment.
But she has a great life at that point, and she's giving all of that up. And I mean, the point of the ending is that, yeah, she ruined her life for that revenge. But for that to happen, the revenge needs to feel earned, and it needs to come off as stronger and like reasonable. But it's not at all.
I think the ending would have been more effective had she gone through with killing Abby.
That would have harkened a bit back to the ending of The Last of Us 1 then, wouldn't it? With the decision Joel made to prioritize his own desires over what is quote-unquote right, and for Ellie to then do the same.
Yeah, but Ellie is at that point basically irredeemable. Like you can't root for Abby, for Ellie, I mean, and it was painful playing her.
So Neil Druckmann got to you.
So just if she actually killed Abby at the end, like that character, no one would be able to play her anymore. No one wants to be her.
Good. That would have made a more interesting ending.
Well, fuck you.
What do you mean, fuck me?
I don't want Abby to die.
It's not.
She didn't deserve it.
It's not a matter of, oh, I want her to die, or I don't think she deserves it. This is not about that. It's about what makes sense for Ellie's character. And the fact of the matter is, the ending, the way it is inconsistent with her characterization. It's inconsistent with with the lengths that she's gone through to get to that point.
Yeah, it'd be like if in The Last of Us 1, if Joel had left Ellie to be worked on by the surgeons, where everything in his character was sort of built up to have him go there and save his, new daughter. Right, Daniel?
Or are you trying to say that there's something wrong with the ending of the first game?
No, I'm saying that I'm trying to back your case that Ellie's not going through with the revenge would be like Joel not saving Ellie in the end, even though his character is completely built up to have done that.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yes.
Anyway, we've spent 25 minutes on this game now. I fought not to talk about this because I feel like we've talked about it so often. Have we only talked about it once on recording?
Well, we talked about
the first game
twice, and I think we talked about 2
once.
I think this is our second time.
Yeah.
We must have talked about it like before and after certain episodes then, because I feel like
we've talked about it so much.
Actually, we talked about it once when you weren't here, Asa, and we were recording with Red Angel. So this might be the 5th time now.
Ugh.
Well, hopefully this will be the last time.
Yeah, I ask you a question?
I've been waiting for a long time to talk about this ending.
Can I ask you a question, Daniel?
Yes.
Was this worth the corporational cost to Naughty Dog? Like major creatives just leaving the company, and like the staff being furloughed. Was this worth it?
Hell no. No, not even close. Like, did I enjoy the game though? Yes. It is a very fun game. I enjoyed most of the gameplay sequences. And even some parts of the story I thought were really good and I enjoyed. But is it worth all that bullshit? Hell no, I don't think any game is worth that shit. That's nonsense. These people deserve better.
They do.
Just look at those environments and, there's this lush greenery just meticulously animated and rendered, and all you do is hold forward while characters talk. It's crazy how good that game looks and just how little you actually interact with the environment in a lot of parts of it.
Well, except for that one part where you're riding around on the horse. Like, that actually felt like you were engaging with the environment in an interesting way.
You mean the open world part?
Yeah, the open world part. But that's the only part.
Yeah,
it's
just
so
like
random.
in Uncharted Lost Legacy, where they randomly have one barely open world part, and then it's gone.
But that doesn't make any sense. Why would you have that in an Uncharted game? Like, Uncharted games have nothing to collect. They let me get a piece of treasure or whatever so I can unlock a trophy. Like, get the fuck
No,
out
but
of
I
here.
think they enter some kind of valley where there are multiple things they need to activate or whatever, and it's at multiple parts of the valley, like in multiple structures.
See, in The Last of Us, it makes sense to have like an open world segment like that where you have like optional stuff to do because you can get upgrades. You can find a new holster. You can find a safe that has ammo, and there's stuff to get. In Uncharted, what the fuck is there? Like, no, it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I think this will be the last time we will speak of The Last of Us.
Yes.
Until the DLC.
They won't do a DLC.
Wait. No.
Why not?
Don't put that into the universe. I don't want to talk about this game again.
Boken, you've played Hades. Talk about Hades.
I have played Hades. Fantastic game. I'm not through it yet. But Supergiant Games, as always, hitting it out of the park. Yeah, it's. Have you guys played it at all? I guess you have seen something about it, but not more.
I think I saw a tweet talking about it. I'm looking at images of it for the first time now.
It's a roguelike game.
It's isometric.
Yes, well, all of the games are isometric, But
are these the guys that made Bastion?
Bastion, Transistor, and Pyre. Yeah. Yes.
Oh,
also known as the best developer studio out there, in my opinion. Like I think Supergiant Games are by far the best developers. For one, because I mean I've been very negative about sequels and limited creativity, and these guys are the polar opposite of that.
Are you talking best developers of all times, or best developers that are still like best team of all time, or best team that's still active?
Definitely still active. I'm not sure where I would be with all time. Like I'm not sure if I could name another better one.
Team Ego? Would you give it to a Team Ego?
I have to play Last Guardian first.
Right.
But yeah, Team Ego could be up there. I'm also thinking maybe early BioWare. Like Baldur's Gate 2 BioWare.
Are you an Obsidian fan?
Yes. But, Obsidian doesn't innovate like Supergiant does.
Oh.
And that's what I like about them. Like they, for the first time, try a roguelike, and they create a roguelike that is so smart, and like they actually add something to the genre, just like Breath of the Wild added a lot to the open world genre, and just had a bunch of stuff that is maybe risky but felt very right. This is the same for roguelikes, I feel like. Because
for roguelikes, if you like.
Because roguelikes have a very specific structure.
Yes.
Where you play through the game again and again, and you get random upgrades, and you try to reach some kind of ending, and then it's all run-based, and it's all somewhat random. And you just try to get upgrades in a way that make your character build functional. And Hades is the same, but the story is doled out in a way that makes perfect sense with that run-based nature. And like the entire lore is basically justifying the run-based nature of the game. Because you are the son of Hades, called Zagreus, and your goal is to get out of Hades. And there are 4 levels, and you always start at the beginning. And it's just like, you always try to make your way to the top. And when you die, you are immortal, and you just land back at the House of Hades. And then you start all over again. And every time you die, people will talk to you, and they will comment on the fact that you try to get out again. And, Lord Hades will tell you need to stay put. But I can't force you, so I guess you need to learn yourself that you belong here. And then, he just laughs at you when you die and come back out of the river of blood.
That's pretty good. How long is it?
I don't know. I haven't finished it yet. I mean, I can tell you how much time have I put in.
I may have to give this one a try.
Hades, where is it? Here it is. I have put in 23 hours, and I've beaten the final boss, I think 5 times or 6 times. And I'm not done with the story yet. Like that is the cool thing. Even I'm trying not to spoil, but even when you make it to the end, and you actually advance the real goal, like the plot goal, there's a reason why you have to go back and you have to try again. And they incorporate that into the story as well. It's really smart.
Is this your game of the year?
Maybe. It's either that or Neo 2. But yeah, and it has all the Supergiant hallmarks, great soundtrack, fantastic voice acting. There's a crazy amount of voice acting actually. Like you play Hades, so you play Zagreus, so he's part of the underworld gang, but then your upgrades are random boons from all the Olympian gods, and every time you pick one up, they basically leave a message for you. So you have like Zeus telling you, hey man, you should come up here to the Olymp. It's great here. You're gonna have fun. Like they all want you.
Did they get a Jack Black?
No, I don't think so.
Like Double Fine?
I don't think they have that kind of money, honestly.
That's a shame.
But there's all the gods. There's Zeus, Dionysus, Persephone, Poseidon, all the guys you know, and they all have like themed upgrades. For example, Poseidon, his skills all give you like knockback effects, and knockback effects can, if you slam someone into the wall, they get extra damage, and you can build around that. And then you have a couple different weapons with a couple different upgrades. So there's a lot of gameplay meat to the game as well. And just crazy amounts of dialogue and updates, and dialogue and voice acting. And as I said, every run there's a bit more. Like every run there's so much dialogue that it is doled out very naturally, and it keeps you motivated, because even if you die, you know you're going to get a bunch of new dialogue options with these gods and all these people in the House of Hades. It's super smart. Like I'm impressed. So yeah, I will probably talk about this again when I have finished it. But I recommend it already.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is there a moment in the game where you go into like a house and you knock on the door and it turns out you're delivering pizzas to Conan O'Brien?
What? The fuck are you talking about?
I'm talking about Death Stranding.
Oh. Why? By the way, Asa, you don't like hard games, right?
What?
You don't like hard games, right? Like, this game is fairly difficult.
I love hard games. I'd made a bunch of videos on the Kingsfields. What are you talking about?
Are they actually hard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you ever tried playing them?
No. But they just look janky.
Bogan, imagine playing Dark Souls and not having any bonfire at any point. You just have to save, and if you die, you die.
Okay. Fine. It's just because you played DMC on easy.
Oh, that was... I'm not good at fighting games. That's just that. And I also didn't want to spend too much time on it. And
But
also,
is...
it's basically the same when it comes to games like that. The difficulty really doesn't matter on those games.
Yes, it does. Shut up.
This is pretty...
Shut the fuck up.
Pretty high frequency action, this game, too. You be dashing around a lot.
With Devil May Cry, I played it on easy. I think I did it because I didn't have a lot of time, and I just wanted to have clocked it before we did the episode on it.
Okay.
At least that's how I recall.
Well, give it a shot.
I will. Will you play it, Daniel? Normie?
Hades? I mean, I own it, so...
Oh.
But the thing is, I want to play the other games first by Supergiant. So, I mean, I'd like to play through Bastion and Transistor.
How have you not played those?
I don't know. I just haven't.
They're great.
He's too busy playing World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV.
I've never played World of Warcraft. Never. Not once. Never have I ever.
That's a really hard stance you're taking. Considering, like, you have played Final Fantasy XIV, but you'll take a hard stance on... There's a quality difference.
Are you saying that they're the same game?
No, I'm just saying I think it's funny that
I think
you're
he's
so protective.
saying playing them is basically the same.
No, I'm just saying it's funny that you'd be so militant about I've never played World of Warcraft. Final Fantasy XIV, I like that, that's good. But World of Warcraft!
Well, I mean, I've only heard, like, horror stories over the years. So, like, I have no interest in World of Warcraft.
My understanding is that it's like having a job you have to pay for.
Yeah, I think I'm good, fam. I don't know. I don't need that in my life.
Didn't I suggest once we do a World of Warcraft episode and we would just not do any episodes for like 8 months, and then we'd return really tired. Like, okay, so let's talk about World of Warcraft, guys. I've been raiding with my party for the past 8 months. What have you guys been up to?
I mean, I have played World of Warcraft pretty extensively.
So, like, a raid in Final Fantasy 14 can last between, like, 30, 40 minutes. A raid in World of Warcraft can last 4 hours.
True.
So, I'm not interested in World of Warcraft, thank you very much.
But does Final Fantasy 14 not also have, like, different kinds of raids? Are there not the hardcore raids that take a lot longer?
There are harder raids that you can do, but like they don't take 4 fucking hours.
Okay.
You know, I'm more of a RuneScape guy myself. Go to Varrock.
I actually did play RuneScape when I was in high school.
Fucking love RuneScape, even though it's such a time sink piece of shit game. I can't hate it. There's some I have some appreciation for it still.
Anyway, Asa, what have you played?
I've played Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. What do you want to know about it, Bogan?
Can we not talk about it?
No, we have
Question
to talk
mark?
about it.
I guess that's not a...
Why don't you want to talk about Crash?
I don't give a fuck.
Oh, you don't give a fuck about the game of 2020?
I'm fairly certain that it's not the game of 2020.
I liked it a lot.
That's the only 2020 game you've played, isn't it?
Yeah, it may be.
No, Final Fantasy VII and this.
I'm so looking forward to doing the Game of the Year episode. It's gonna be such jank. No, it's not. I can't wholeheartedly say it's the best game of the year. But first of all, I'm a big fan of the return of the AAA kid-friendly games. I think the next generation of game designers need to have something else in their past than Minecraft and Fortnite, and I'm a big fan of this stuff coming back. So it is no Crash Twinsanity. I will say that much. Crash Twinsanity is still leaps and bounds the best Crash game. Those Naughty Dog games, you like them? Get them out of here. Crash Twinsanity is better. And this game does the ridiculous. There's a line in it where somebody goes, "Oh, this Neo-Cortex fellow, how many times have we had to deal with him?" And they go, 3 times. And there you go, "Oh, felt it was more." And then they look at the camera because they're wiping out the continuity, which I don't like, because there were some good games there. But this is apparently...
I mean, you could still go back and play those games.
Yeah.
They still exist.
They do still exist. But the characters from those games, like, now I know Crunch Bandicoot. Is he going to show up in another Crash game? Are you going to have to introduce him again? What about Evil Crash? What about the Evil Parrots? What about Nina Cortex? Like, there's so many... You probably should have tried to save some of those characters. Although I don't think this is a franchise that's going to play it like really strict when it comes to continuity going forwards.
I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's fucking Crash.
I like Crash. I like those characters, and I would have liked to see them. I fucking hated Tawna. Her gameplay sections were really fun, but first of all, like she's too human looking for my brain. I've talked about this before. I hate anthropomorphic animals with human bodies, and she's exactly in that spot. And also, she doesn't look like she's from the same visual department as the rest of the characters. There's a scene at the end of the game where they're like playing a video game, and she's sitting next to Coco and Crash. She doesn't look like she's a Bandicoot. Like her head is much smaller, her features are much more human, and she's sitting next. It looks like I'm watching Roger Rabbit. Like, this is a real character, and they are these Saturday morning cartoon characters. But her gameplay sections were really fun. Although I maintain that probably could have just been Nina Cortex, because it's basically the same. You have a slingshot, you do wall jumps. So that was fun.
Why do I Google search Coco Crash and the second image is porn?
Oh my god. I think Google tailors searches based on search history.
Clearly.
You
the
just
actual fuck.
That's more than I need to know.
But if you just Google,
I'm pretty sure I don't look at porn on my phone.
I'm pretty sure you don't look at Crash Bandicoot porn either.
No, I don't. I've just Googled Tana Crash because I wanted to see what she looks like, and then Coco Crash because I wanted to compare.
Yeah. Yeah, so the way this game works is it goes back pretty much to the first game in terms of how the levels are structured, where you just complete one after the other. There's some non-linearity to it, but it's because you can pick and choose certain bonus levels and stuff like that. And you have... The world is sort of broken up into worlds with different masks, which change the platforming challenges. And initially I thought, I'm going to hate this. But as it got on, I was like, you know what? I don't like the personalities of these masks. They're kind of annoying. But I can see why they would want to shake up the Crash formula, because the original Crash trilogy pretty much did all you could have done with that setup. So I liked it at the end. There's the first mask, which activates and deactivates platforms. You remember those, if you've played the Marios, there's those red and blue platforms, which you flip on interchangeably. It's kind of like that. There's a mask which gives you the ability to spin and jump in the air more and break crates and stuff. That's the best mask, because it's sort of a caveman approach to playing a game, I suppose. Just break everything in your way. There was a mask where you could slow down time, which initially I thought I was going to like a lot. And there are a couple of instances where I liked it, but for the most part, it suffers because no challenge tailored for it is really difficult. So the mask which flips on and off switches, that creates a brand new challenge in and of itself. The purple mask, which lets you spin more, there are challenges very unique to that mask, which are complicated. But the slowing down of time, it adds a bit of timing to normal platforming challenges, but it's not really that difficult. With the possible exception of you can now walk on the green nitro crates and you have some time before they explode. That was my least favorite mask. And the final mask was the VVV mask, where you can flip the gravity up or down.
Of course that's how it works.
Of course it's how it works. I've been accosted by this mechanic twice this year, and I don't like it.
I don't get it. What? VVV?
VVV is a video game.
Oh.
It's an indie platformer. It's very good. Great soundtrack.
Do you remember that?
Oh, so it's not actually called that. You just called it that.
No, it's called VVV.
Right. Okay.
6 Vs.
So it's a straight up like reference to the game.
Do you remember those levels in Shovel Knight on the flying machine? Where
Sure.
you were pushed up and then pushed down? It's that. And
yeah.
I've never enjoyed this mechanic in any game. I didn't like it when I played Ratchet Nexus a couple of months ago. I didn't like it here. I didn't really like it in Shovel Knight. I haven't played VVV, but I imagine that game probably does it better, because that's what that game is about. That being said, when it came to the final levels of Crash 4, holy shit, I have never had my ass kicked by a Crash game the way I was here. You're doing jumps in midair and you're switching the mask, and like in midair they expect you to swap the gravity and then grab another mask and slow down time to land on a platform, and then it's just it gets crazy. And I didn't think they would actually maintain the difficulty in a kids game in 2020. And I was very happy that they did.
Sounds pretty good, actually.
It was. Like, it is... It's very faithful gameplay-wise. It's a very faithful continuation of where the original Crash trilogy left off. Story-wise, I feel like... I don't know why, but we don't know how to write sort of 90s Saturday morning cartoon humor anymore. Right? Everything's a bit sanitized in this one. They don't go there. I don't really play the Crash Bandicoots for the story anyway, but it felt like it lacked some teeth.
It didn't have that 90s charm.
Yeah, you want. It's the same way if they ever decide to bring back Duke Nukem. You want them to embrace that sort of the innate silliness of that era again. You don't need to do it in earnest, but you do need to acknowledge it. There's two more things I want to talk about. The game has bonus levels, which are like, I think they're supposed to be like Crash's memories, but you collect tapes and you unlock experiments which Cortex did on Crash, which are basically just you're doing box jump level challenges. And I liked those. I think those were a fun inclusion. But I cannot for the life of me excuse the fact that they didn't have those levels play out in the 90s low poly style. I think that would have been way better. And the final levels take place in the past, and again, they should have downgraded the visuals back to that era. It would have been so much more nostalgic, but those are really just nitpicks, I feel. So yeah, Crash 4, I was so ready not to like it, and I am shocked by how much I did like it. And I have, like with every game, I could list a bunch of issues, but I so want more AAA kid games that I don't really want to spend any time nitpicking it, because I want more of this. I think this is a good thing for the industry, and I think this is as good a Crash game as I think they could have made in 2020. So go out there and buy it. Give Activision your money. Activision is not in a good place, guys. They need your help.
Yes.
Let's start a Kickstarter.
Let's start a movement to save Activision.
And with that, we're going to take a quick break, and we will reconvene with our essay topic about silent protagonists.
Did we mention that in the beginning?
No, we did not.
God damn it.
Break time. We're back. Guys, we're talking silent protags. I know that Boken, you were the one that wanted to talk about this, so why don't you lead us?
I think at this point I actually hate silent protagonists. Like I feel like I was more mellow on them at some point, but the more I see them now, the more they just annoy me. And basically, I thought about this a bit before, and the thesis that I want to state right here is that certainly I have trouble coming up with any game where there being a silent protagonist actually improves the game. I feel like all the silent protagonists I know at this point, maybe they don't ruin the game if the game itself is fine, but I feel like at best they don't ruin it, but they never actually add anything. And it annoys me, and I feel like it's a writing crutch.
A lot of people would
for
say
a lot of games.
A silent protagonist allows you to project yourself more onto the character. How would you respond to that?
I feel like I project myself at a character that I understand.
That's something I've always heard.
Better.
And it's something I think I can respect on some level, but it's something I've never personally related to. Because I don't feel like I can project onto a silent protagonist. To me, they're like a doll. Like, I don't... They don't feel like a real person.
They don't feel like a real person.
I can't see myself in them. I can only see myself in a character I can actually relate to.
There's a great line by Yahtzee Croshaw in one of his reviews, where it's like...
I maintain that
a
fedora invalidates all the opinions of its wearer.
Well, first, this is not even what I want to talk about, but for the record, just to be perfectly factual here, he has gotten rid of that fedora a long time ago. He just keeps that thing on his stick figure character because that's, his brand. And he doesn't... Like, if he gets rid of the fedora, then the entire Yahtzee character, like the stick figure itself, loses its only recognizable detail.
I don't care.
Yeah. But yeah, he realized at some point that the fedora is fucking dumb. And he hasn't.
What was it that he said
for
anyway?
Years, I think. But anyway, he said in one of his reviews where basically the same argument is brought up. Like he pretends someone is saying like, "Oh, but if the protagonist is silent, then you can insert yourself into the story." And then he goes like, "I don't want to insert myself into the story."
Can I ask you,
because I'm quite the asshole.
Twofold question. First of all, a game like Morrowind or Skyrim, would you say that's a silent protagonist when you have you have dialogue options? Is that a silent protagonist?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not. That is a
because I was going to say, if you consider that a silent protagonist,
writing,
then would you agree that Fallout 4 is an example of a written protagonist being worse than the silent one? But okay.
No. The Baldur's Gate 2 is my favorite game of all time. And obviously, that character, you are talking. You are choosing his dialogue options. You can write the character yourself in a way. So RPGs don't factor into that. However, take games like JRPGs, like Persona, for example, where you have very limited dialogue options at best. And the dialogue options also don't really give you any choices. It's just you get two different ways of saying yes. And otherwise the character is just bluntly sitting there and staring while everyone else talks.
To be a written character, because every now and then you get like, pick this up, okay, or cancel. But...
See,
no.
I totally...
You don't even get any choices.
I love Persona, but I totally agree with you that making the characters silent in 3, 4, and 5, like... I feel like they do it out of tradition. Like, it's just always been like that. And I feel like those games would be improved if the main characters were just characters.
Exactly, and it's not like it ruins the game or anything. It's still fine, but it leads to these weird moments that I hate, where everything is so focused on your character,
they
but
act
the character
like,
isn't a character.
It's so funny because like these characters will act like, "Oh my god, you're my best friend. I love you so much," and it's like, how can you love someone that doesn't say anything? It's so weird. And I think that and I kind of get it. In that, because you're always making decisions for these characters, I guess for them, they think it makes more sense to make them silent. But I think games like The Witcher and Mass Effect, well, more so The Witcher, prove that, no, the character doesn't need to be silent. You just need to make the decisions sound like different variations of what that character would possibly say.
Yeah, if like The Witcher in particular, because Geralt is very drawn between two different worlds. I mean, in Witcher 2, for example, you get the choice between sticking with the humans who have helped you or sticking with the outsiders, like the elves and the dwarves and the witchers, because witchers themselves are outsiders. So you can play with that dichotomy. And Geralt at all times still feels like a fully realized character,
isn't the
regardless
point
of what,
Geralt
what choice you pick.
He's a dude who can shake hands with kings as well as like mobster scumbags, and he
can hold his own.
Yeah, he feels natural in both environments.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, he tries not to get involved in politics, yet he still does all the time.
And he doesn't want to get mixed up in bullshit, but he can't help it.
Go on, Daniel. You had this thought probably longer than I've been sitting on mine.
Yeah, so like going back to Persona real quick, I think what really exposes just how like pointless it is that these characters are silent is the fact that these main characters speak in the animes. And it's totally fine.
Yeah, you couldn't pull that shit in any sort of movie or anime or show. Imagine having a mute character that doesn't have any personality.
Like Yu Narukami in Persona 4.
That doesn't work.
He doesn't talk a lot, to be fair, but he does speak. He does have, some personality, and it works just fine. So, yeah, I don't get why they I don't get why they insist on it. I think they could do something with the main characters and have them feel like their own people and still have their dialogue options. It could still work.
I want to ask you a question.
Because
I think that I think a silent protagonist is completely forgivable if the game isn't dependent on character interaction, or the story isn't dependent on character interaction. Like, we always go back to Dark Souls. I don't think Dark Souls would be in any way improved with a voiced protagonist. I think that
sure?
that game
because
has
I'm not so sure about
little character interactions as is that it basically wouldn't change anything. And at worst, it would have, because those games are more about the moment-to-moment gameplay than the interactions with characters. How would a voiced protagonist improve those games, do you think?
Well, just generally speaking, I'm struggling with Dark Souls because that's a great game, and the fact that the character is mute never bothered me, but that game has themes and it has a story, so why not you could always have a main protagonist who in some way reinforces the main themes of the game. That's a possibility. And of course, you can try to write that and you can also fuck it up, and maybe that would hurt the game. But that's why I'm saying, at best, a mute protagonist doesn't ruin a game or doesn't make a game worse. But I feel like
struggling here. I'm trying
anything.
to find the best example of a silent protagonist which kind of amplifies it. If I make a case for Dark Souls' protagonist being silent, making the world like, if I make a case that it sort of draws you more into the world, would that have any legs? Or do you think a voiced protagonist would have, wouldn't have interfered with that?
I feel like with Dark Souls, it works better with the characters being silent. Maybe it's just because I'm used to the games being the way they are, but I can't imagine those games being better if my character was yapping. Yeah. Like, I just can't see it. I think the characters being silent adds to the atmosphere of those games because they are just silently undergoing these horrors, these trials, these challenges, and they're just silently and begrudgingly going through it. And I don't feel that the character talking about what they're going through would add anything at all.
No, but then I do think Sekiro.
Sure, there isn't.
That's a different experience, but that totally lands for me. That he has a voice actor, but that's not like a character. That's not you.
Sekiro is different because like for Bloodborne, Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1 through 3, those are characters that are highly customizable. You can change their race, you can change their gender, but in Sekiro, like, he is a firmly established character. Like, he is who he is.
Shrek.
I mean, in a way, you can add some role-playing elements to the Dark Souls character. You can choose to kill certain people. You can choose different endings. There is something to that, and I agree that Dark Souls is an example where it doesn't bother me, and maybe it could be bad if they gave him some dialogue, but it doesn't have to be much. It's just because, as you said, that game doesn't rely on just characters interacting with one another.
I think in a game, because you bring up role playing, like, I remember watching a Let's Play of this guy. He was playing through Skyrim, and he had created this elaborate character for the character that he was playing as, and he was playing this character true to this role play that he came up with. He was playing as this rogue that was obsessed with I think it was called Shuma or something like that. It was like a specific plant or drug or something, and that all of his actions in the game were like skooma. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And so all of the character's actions in the game were propelled by chasing the next high, and I thought that was really interesting. And I don't think that role playing really could have worked had the character been voice acted and, was constantly yapping.
No, but I don't need voice acting for my characters to be written. I'm actually happy when a lot of indie games don't have voice acting, because a bad voice actor can ruin a lot. And when I just have to read text, that is sometimes better.
The Elder Scrolls should dump all the voice acting as it relates to dialogue and go back to that Morrowind sort of wiki style dialogue system, because I think it's much more powerful to to deliver on the fleshing out of the world when you can just click through all the terminology and take your time to get acclimated to it, as opposed to being, having your pacing set up by the line reading.
Basically, they've broken the mold with Fallout 4, and now you will always get voice acting, even if it's a bad choice for the kind of game that they're making.
Newspapers? Sarcasm. Hello? I don't want to talk to you. Those are your 4 options. Fucking sarcasm.
So I've been playing Final Fantasy 14, as I mentioned earlier, and in that game...
What?
Yes. And in that game, the main character is silent, obviously. And what there are occasionally, sometimes you do get like a dialogue option. It's usually not anything like too crazy. But most of the time, what that game does is when the characters are talking to you, the character will like do mouth flaps, and they'll do like hand gestures, and then they'll be like, "Oh yes, I see."
Oh! Wait a minute, Bogan. I think I have found a game that is full of character interactions, which is made vastly better with the absence of a voiced protagonist. What about Majora's Mask? I think Majora's Mask would come across really weird if Link repeated his line readings when he was talking to people over and over again.
I have not played that.
I mean, I feel like we're only saying that because it's Link and because we're used to Link not talking. And I think at this point, if they suddenly... It's kind of like with Samus, right? Like, once they had Samus talk in Metroid Other M, everyone projectile vomited.
I don't mind the idea of Link talking. I'm a bit,
I do.
Excuse me, princess. I love Link talking. No, but imagine Majora's Mask if Link were to talk back to the people. How many different line readings they would need to do for the repeated dialogues with the same people over the different days? Because Link retains the memory of having talked to them, and they don't. I think that would have come across as really artificial if he were to talk.
But couldn't that also add a lot? Like if he
If,
if he just whatever loses his temper or just like if you go through different scenes
no, because
that act out the same but Link is different every time, couldn't that add a lot? I mean, that's basically Groundhog Day.
Yeah, that could add a lot, but I also feel like that could come across as kind of grating if my experience talking to them doesn't mirror Link's. If he's getting frustrated, but I'm getting really enthralled by advancing the narrative.
I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with the player and the character being on different pages.
I maintain that I think if Link were to talk in Majora's Mask, I can actually, you know what?
I don't disagree.
I can see how that could work. I don't think it would work without changing more about Majora's Mask, though.
Here's the thing. I agree specifically with Majora's Mask because, again, Link has already been established for years now as a silent protagonist. It would be weird if he suddenly talked in this game, and I think that would be a mess. But if we had a completely different game with a similar idea, I think it could work.
Like in Hades, for example, Zagreus has full voice acting. He's a written character, and it's funny. Like they play with the fact that he goes through the same thing over and over again. For example, when you reach the first boss of the first act, basically, or the first area, there are 3 different like demon sisters that you can fight, and every time you enter those chambers, he basically makes a prediction like, oh, I bet it's going to be Meg again. And then you go in and, oh, look, it's Meg. You know, that's kind of what the player thinks in that moment, like, which demon sister am I going to get? And then the character is playing that out for them, and that makes it funny.
That's interesting.
Bastion is mute, isn't he?
He's mute, yeah.
But he's sort of that game is sort of being told as you play it by the narrator.
It is, and it's interesting. Like they give that character a lot of backstory, and you get a pretty significant choice at the end. That is actually one of the more emotional moments that I've ever seen in a game, which I don't want to spoil. But yeah, that's also in Transistor. The character is mute. But that's because she got her voice stolen. So that's part of her character. And she does act a certain way. Like she has certain just mannerisms and actions that make her still a written character in my mind, even though she actually can't talk at all.
This is a completely unfair example, but wouldn't Uncharted be much better if Nathan Drake wasn't constantly yapping?
Yes, it would, but I don't want him to be mute.
No, I know that's a ridiculous example.
But that's a different, like that's probably a different topic.
Yeah,
but AAA characters and in games just somehow games believe you need to always hear dialogue nowadays, and it drives me fucking nuts.
But that's how you know the game is happening. People. We are like this.
People aren't silent in real life for longer stretches. They always talk.
We live in a crazy Ritalin generation, which has only attention for like 5-second YouTube meme videos or 7-hour podcasts and nothing in between.
Yeah, you know, I mean, in principle, I'm not against characters talking while you're exploring, but the problem is like a lot of it's like repeated dialogue, and a lot of it is like stuff that doesn't add anything. I feel like one of the reasons why I like the Tales series so much is because the characters will have these optional dialogue sequences, but they're actually talking about stuff that's happening in the plot. So like, let's say like there's a huge plot revelation that happens. Well, right afterwards there'll be an optional skit, that's what they're called, and when you they're basically going like, wow, I can't believe so and so betrayed so and so, like that's fucking crazy. And another person who might know something, they would be like, well, it makes sense because the tensions between the nations and blah blah blah, like, you know, they will have like in-depth conversations about what's happening. But that's not what the AAA model does. It's literally just like fucking what's her name, Aloy, like Horizon Zero Dawn. She's just like saying stupid shit all the time. She's just like, oh, I guess I'm going down this mountain. You know,
yeah, like Ellie and Abby do that too. Oh, I gotta get over the fence. Ooh, a knife. Oh, nice. You know, that kind of completely pointless dialogue just to fill space.
Have you guys ever played the Jack games?
No.
This is an interesting one, because in Jak and Daxter, the first Jak game, Jak is mute. In the second game, he's a voiced character. And that's like a plot relevant thing that he can now speak, because he'll have like these long conversations with people he knew when he was mute, but they're behind a curtain, so they don't know that, oh, we actually know each other. And it's like, we're actually friends. What's with the animosity if we just cut the curtain down? But that does show that, you know, Jak 1 probably would have been a better game if Jak had a voice in that one, because the dynamic of Jak and Daxter wouldn't have been so incredibly one-sided. And, you know, Daxter would have had somebody to bounce off of.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
So why do you think that is? Why do so many games have silent protagonists? I mean, I've played Spiritfarer this year, Neo 2, and in both games it bothered the fuck out of me. Because in Spiritfarer, your character actually does a backstory, and she does portray emotions, but she just doesn't talk, while people that she supposedly knows are just talking at her. And it's so unnatural and dumb. And I don't understand why. Like any bit of dialogue, it doesn't need to be great dialogue. Just a little bit, just so she recognizes that other people are talking to her.
You know who's a great example of what you're talking about, Bogan, is Wander from Shadow of the Colossus. He has like a couple of lines in the beginning of the game, and then he's just silent for the rest of it, with the exception of when he's calling out to Acro.
Yeah. And I get his motivation from the beginning of the game. It is completely understandable.
Yeah.
And
that game isn't big on character interactions, but even like that's actually I mean, if there's a comparison.
To be fair, in Shadow of the Colossus though, there's no one to talk to.
Dorman.
Exactly.
He could be talking to Dorman, and I think that in a lesser game he would have talked back to Dorman before getting when he's getting the heading for the next Colossi to fight.
Yeah, but there's really no need for him to.
Yeah,
like
that's
him responding would add nothing.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
In a lesser game, he probably would have more dialogue, but that's an example of he's not a silent protagonist. He does have a voice, but he doesn't talk when he isn't. Like, there's no reason for him to talk back to Dorman.
So I find it really weird. Real quick, I find it really weird because you brought up Jak, and that's an interesting example. Here's another game. Dead Space did the same fucking thing where in the first game, Isaacs doesn't say anything for no fucking reason, and then all of a sudden in the sequel, he talks. What is with that? I think that's more jarring. I think it's worse if you have a character that doesn't talk, and then all of a sudden they start talking.
Is that...
Well, but they probably realized that silent protagonists are dumb, especially for such a game.
I've never played Dead Space 1. Are there people for him to talk to in that one?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, that's...
Like it's good that they course correct. I heard that he still isn't well written or anything, but why stay with a bad decision if you can make a better one?
Because at least it's consistent rather than like super jarring of just like because now you have to explain like why were you literally silent the whole first game.
But don't you want a developer to be able to say, okay, that was not the right call, we are making the right call now? Like, should they really be just settling with a bad decision?
in some cases I would agree, but like in this case, I don't know. I don't buy it. I don't think because it makes no fucking sense. Like,
of course not.
If you're gonna make,
they made a bad call.
Yeah, they made a bad call.
They need to make a new IP just so they can have a character? Like, I wouldn't even mind if
Well,
Link
according
talks.
to you, yes, they would need to do a new IP because you hate sequels.
That's true.
Yeah,
but
I think
that's besides the point.
Secretly, you agree with me.
I think that if Link talked, like, that could be fun. He's like a boyish little kid who likes to get into trouble or something. They could do something interesting with him.
Yeah, I totally think like Wind Waker Link could totally have a voice. That doesn't need to be bad.
Yeah.
Why can't Link just ask other people about the world and then say, well, shit, my little sister has been captured. I'm gonna save her.
I care way more about the fact that Link is still a boy and we don't have an option to turn him into a girl. Like, why not? Like, literally, why not?
Because then you need double the voice acting.
No, you don't. No, if you keep Link a silent protagonist, what difference does it make to make him a girl?
No, I don't think...
No more silent protagonists.
I don't think that's... well, I wouldn't care if they did, but that's not something I feel very strongly about. I feel like he could just be a boy.
I don't know. Like,
See,
because my argument is like, he already doesn't have a fucking character. You might as well give us the option to choose between a male or a female version, just so like more people can, like, I guess whatever, project onto the character.
Well, look, your choice is he might as well be a boy or a girl because he is a non-character.
Yes, that's my point.
My choice is I don't want him to be a non-character, so make a choice, but give him writing. I would prefer that.
If they're not going to, if they want to eventually, which they're probably not, you know, if they were to eventually make him a non-character, sure, whatever, keep him a boy. But if they're going to continue making him a non-character, they might as well give us the option, because what difference does it make?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I guess. Which one would you prefer? This is completely outside of the realm of this topic. Would you rather Link you could play a Zelda game with Link as a girl, or would you want a Zelda game where you play as Zelda?
I'd want to be a female Link.
Oh my god.
More than being Zelda.
Didn't they do that in Hyrule Warriors? Didn't they create a female version of Link?
Yeah, her name is Linkle.
And she wears like Little Red Riding Hood, except green?
And she wears green.
Yeah, it's like Little Red Riding Hood, like a cape and isn't it? And like a hood?
Yeah, she has a little hoodie and she dual wields crossbows. It's weird.
That is explicitly a weapon you cannot dual wield.
Whatever. Whatever, literally, who cares?
Oh yeah, I hate silent protagonists now. They annoy me. They having a character that doesn't react when other characters are talking to them, and it takes me out of the game, because the game is giving me the goals of what to do through other characters, and I never see my character actually agreeing to what the other characters want, but they still just do it.
So what about games where like the character is silent, but they still react, right? Like they'll visibly be like, oh, "I'm shocked," or they'll laugh.
That's Jack 1.
That's really just unnatural and weird. And those it's not like those characters have depth, because they just go with what the narrative wants from them.
You know what they do in Jack 2, actually? They make the note that Jack was mute when he was a kid. So like they just retconned it so that he wasn't a silent protagonist. He was literally mute. He couldn't talk, and then he could because of some experiments.
I think the question is more if a character has an agenda or not.
So let me ask you this, Boken. Like, what about games that allow you to customize your character, male, female? You could be an orc or an elf or whatever. Do you still feel like they should have a voice? And
But that's RPGs, isn't it?
yes.
Well, as I said, I don't consider RPG characters to be silent because you get to pick their dialogue options or you get to make choices for them. That is part of the role playing that you do.
So that's separate for you.
Yeah, that's not a silent protagonist.
Okay, fair enough. So it's specifically like something like the Persona characters where like they have their own designs, but they just don't talk for some reason.
Yes, I think a good example is also Adol from Ys.
Yeah, so kind of a weird thing about Adol is there actually is an explanation as to why he doesn't talk, and it's not because he isn't speaking, it's because the games are considered books and written by Adol, and Adol explicitly took out his interpretation in order to objectively portray the events.
That is dumb on so many levels.
It's weird. Like, I don't see how him removing his dialogue somehow makes it more objective.
Like the rest of his writing doesn't reflect his perspective at all.
It's very weird. I kind of get what they're going for. I think it's a neat idea in concept, but in practice, it doesn't make any sense for him to think that him removing his dialogue is somehow the same thing as removing his subjective interpretation. Because it's not the same thing.
I want to go through those games again and see if there are any scenes that don't even feature at all. Like, I would imagine they may be fucked up at some point and showed a dialogue between two characters that he wasn't even around for, but it's somehow in his book still.
Yeah, I bet there are. I'm actually like super certain there are scenes like that.
I'm thinking Journey does not like that is the silent protagonist, but that game has its own communication language, so it's not really a silent protagonist.
There's a bunch of walking simulators where the characters don't speak.
Well, those suck for reasons outside of the protagonist not speaking.
No, not really.
Fuck those games.
Hey.
I mean, Firefall, not Firefall.
Firewatch,
yeah. That had a voice protagonist.
No, that had a voice protagonist.
It had a pretty strong story.
What Remains of Edith Finch? That was not a mute character. That was not a silent protagonist.
Was it not?
No, yeah. The main character spoke. She was always like writing in her diary as well, and she was always narrating.
Hey.
Oh, I guess so.
What about Amnesia: The Dark Descent? Because you can get like flashbacks where the main protagonist, who's also named Daniel, like he has conversations, and you have like audio flashbacks, but at no moment in game does your character speak.
Does he have someone to speak to?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that I haven't finished Amnesia, but I did finish Penumbra, and I think the problem is way worse in Penumbra because you literally have like one of those creatures living inside of your head, and he's always talking to you, and you never respond to him. He's always like shit talking you. He's always like, oh, you and your little monkey human brain, and fuck you and your little physics puzzles. Like he's just like talking shit the whole game.
Oh, wait a minute.
And
Amnesia might have, when you enter a new area, it might have like Daniel's thoughts be projected, like, and then I opened the door and I was there and I saw blah blah blah. It may have that. He's not a silent protagonist. I can't wholeheartedly say that anymore.
Yeah, I think Outlast also has a silent protagonist, and it's weird there. Even though Outlast is a pretty good horror game, but yeah, it's weird that the main character doesn't say anything.
Yeah, he doesn't say anything.
I feel like he would be pleading when the guy is torturing him.
Yeah.
Like maybe say, hey, please don't.
Yeah, well,
can we not?
that character is all sorts of weird because they do the whole you can't fight back against the monsters, but it kind of works in Amnesia because it's like eldritch horror and there really is no way to fight back against them because the very act of looking at the monsters drains your sanity. But in Outlast, like they're broken pieces of glass. Why doesn't he pick that up just to have something to defend himself with? There are people with guns, their corpses lying in the streets. Why doesn't he pick up a gun? It doesn't add up that he wouldn't fight back. That's an issue I have with that game that runs much deeper than him being a silent protagonist.
Yeah.
Maybe if that character had a voice, they'd have to explain why he's still filming shit.
Well, no, he films it because the camera has night vision mode, and he can see in the dark that way.
Yeah, that's why.
Do you need to record to see night vision?
I don't think he's recording. I think he's just using the camera as night vision mode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, basically. Because you can also put the camera away.
Yeah. There's a great moment in the end of the game.
Yeah,
where
the whole game isn't with the camera.
Yeah. There's a great moment in the game's end where he drops the camera and you have to go down into this infested little, shack there and find it again by fidgeting around in the dark. That was a really effective moment, but I still have issues with him not wanting weapons.
So I think basically the conclusion that we've come to is that silent protagonists are fine if the character isn't established, if it's like an RPG or it's part of the role playing, then it's fine. But if it's something like Persona or like Ys, where no, these characters should be speaking, but they're just not, then that actively, more often than not, if it's not neutral, then it's actively taking away.
I think that the more low grade the game's presentation, the more you get away with it. So like a Final Fantasy 1 or a Link to the Past, that doesn't irk me. The characters don't speak. Whereas something like Breath of the Wild or Final Fantasy 15, he does speak in 15, doesn't he?
No, yeah, I was going to say the characters speak in 15. I don't think Final Fantasy's had a silent protagonist since the first game, not including the MMOs.
Yeah, my point just is the more low grade, the more I think you can just get away with not having them speak.
I think what's more jarring is the fact that in Final Fantasy X, no one says Tidus's name throughout the whole fucking game because they decided for whatever reason you could rename him for literally no reason. It's so dumb. There's literally only one character throughout the entirety of Final Fantasy X that explicitly calls Tidus by his name, and it's this random NPC that you can talk to. It's super weird.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think we've exhausted this discussion. So, Boken, do you have anything in the pipeline?
I do.
Oh.
My next video has now entered the editing phase. And I'm still writing on my BoJack piece. I had to interrupt that to read Ace's dumbass comic, but I'm done with that now. So now I can get back to writing.
I got him, everyone.
Acer, what are you up to?
I'm doing. The community asked me to do a Shadow of the Colossus video, so I'm doing that, and I'm also doing one on Shadow Tower 1. Hopefully, I'll do one on Shadow Tower Abyss as well, but I don't know if my schedule will allow that.
I'm actually interested in seeing you take down, not take down, but talk about the second Shadow Tower game, because I heard that game in particular was really, really good.
Yeah, people have deep affinities for that one, and I can kind of see why. I haven't played much of it, but it's yeah. Anyway, video on that.
Cool.
I was also on the Sinclair Lore podcast probably like 2 months ago when we launched this episode, where we talked about the connection from Kingsfield to Demon Souls. And then we did one episode on JoJo, which I don't think she has released yet, but at the time of this recording, but it's probably up when this is up. Check them out. Cool. They are cool people.
And for some fucking reason, last episode, Boken was like, "Did you have anything better to do with your time?" And then berated me for not releasing part 2 of my Zestiria analysis. Well, it's fucking out, motherfucker. It's fucking out. Are you happy?
I'm not unhappy.
Did you like the video?
Yeah, it was alright.
It was alright.
No, it was good. Yeah, it's a good video.
Thanks.
I was looking forward to just. I saw the gameplay in the first video where you didn't talk about the gameplay, and I thought it looked really shitty, and I was happy to see it explained why.
Okay, so Acer, did you watch it?
I'm waiting for you to finish the series.
Okay, so it's going to be in 4 parts.
Yeah.
Part 3 is already written. I just need to turn that into a video. Part 4, I don't even want to think about because I'm going to be critiquing the story, and that's going to be a thing. But yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed part 2. I really love the Tales series, so it was like extra frustrating to play through Zestiria because I feel like the series' combat has always been so good, and then this game just like fucks it all up, and it's just so frustrating to play through, and it's because it had some cool ideas, and it just like completely shit all over itself. So yeah, I'm glad I was able to convey properly to you what was wrong with it. So yeah, that aside from that, I've also been working on a script for Scott Pilgrim. I read it recently. I really enjoyed it, so I'm writing a script, and I'm also still working on my Silent Hill 4 thing. So those are 2 things I have in the pipeline, along with part 3. But that's pretty much it. This has been the Essays and Espresso podcast. I hope you all enjoyed.
Yeah.
This has been Daniel with Boken and Acer. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.